He's one of the most influential horror filmmakers of all time, whose collaborations with the likes of Robert Englund and Steven Spielberg has become the stuff of legend. In the latest installment of our ever-growing Rogues Gallery, we induct Tobe Hooper into the Arrow in the Head's Horror Hall of Fame. Born in Austin, Texas to theatre-owning parents, the story goes that Hooper's mother Lois went into labour while at the cinema, which may or may not be true, but it's a completely fitting origin story for a boy who would pick up his dad's 8mm camera at the age of 9. Fast forward to his 20s, and Hooper was teaching as a college professor and working as a documentary cameraman. It wouldn't take long for Hooper to get the attention of Hollywood, with his 1965 short film The Heisters getting invited into that year's pool of short subject nominees. The short would never be finished, but it didn't stop the hungry artist from ploughing ahead with his other passion projects. His first feature film, Eggshells, would eventually arrive in 1974. Made for just $40,000, it would mark his first collaboration with writer Kim Henkel, whom he would soon reunite for a little film you might have heard of.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I decided to make a horror film because I didn't need stars. I just needed a good story.
Often described as one of the most influential horror films ever made, it's hard to imagine a more impactful directing debut for Hooper. The horror classic sent shockwaves through the film world, not only for its dark tone, but for the fact it contained elements of grisly real-life murders that had allegedly taken place. The battle to get it onto the big screen was a hard-fought one for Hooper, with the crew forced to work up to 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. Add to this the scorching hot temperatures in rural Texas, and the somewhat limited resources of the $140,000 movie, and you've got one of the most troubled productions in horror movie history. The final hurdle for Hooper would be the MPAA, which slapped an X rating on the first cut of the film. A couple of trims later, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was finally released into cinemas with an R rating. It would pile on more than $30 million in the US and Canada alone, and become one of the most successful independent films of its era, proving that the potent mixture of controversy and critical acclaim only helped fuel audience interest in this horrifying cinematic spectacle.
What I wanted to bring to it was a kind of truth and reality that I had been experiencing in documentary filmmaking.
But perhaps the greatest achievement was introducing a frighteningly grounded villain in the likes of Leatherface. A silent presence, seemingly lacking any real personality or moral compass. The image of this chainsaw-wielding maniac would pave the way for classic screen creations like Michael Myers, Freddy, and Jason, not to mention influence the work of Ridley Scott, Wes Craven, and Sam Raimi. For his follow-up Eaten Alive, Hooper would work again with Henkel, this time looking to a series of real-life murders from the 1930s to tell a new deranged story. But working within the relative safety of a studio soundstage did little to stem the director's production woes. Despite maintaining a strong relationship with his cast, one of whom was a pre-Freddy Robert Englund, Hooper would clash with the producers and walk out of the production before filming even wrapped. Hooper would have a better experience on his next directorial outing, the television adaptation of Stephen King's Salem's Lot, which at the time would be his biggest budgeted venture yet. A slightly harder-edged version of Salem's Lot the movie was also released theatrically, while the series itself would gain both a sequel and a remake years later. Hooper would kick off the 80s with a brief departure into the popular teen slasher genre with 1981's The Funhouse.
Rick made the little fetus baby based on having actually scored this, this cow with a cleft palate. And so that's why then, the creature took on this split head and the head had separated, so it put the eyes way apart. I thought if I could make this thing more spider-like, like smaller, move faster, move in these kind of insane ways.
Before turning his attention to the world of the paranormal for the Steven Spielberg produced Poltergeist.
They're here.
Originally conceived as a sequel to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Hooper was partially hired because of Spielberg's contractual obligations on E.T., but also so his keen eye for scares could be perfectly fused with Spielberg's sci-fi sensibilities. Much has been written about the making of Poltergeist, and exactly how hands-on Spielberg was during its production.
This is great because it's almost a side angle. You see it real well in this last shot. Okay, the other thing is on this arc lighting coming up through the throat.
Yeah, the strep throat light.
Yeah.
It was real dark. This sinister tendril coming out of nowhere.
While both directors have maintained in the past that Hooper was the one true director, other conflicting reports from cast and crew members suggest the creative input from Spielberg on set should have at least seen him receive a co-directing credit. But regardless of who did what, there's no debating the enormous critical, commercial, and cultural impact that Poltergeist had upon its 1982 release. Nominated for 3 Academy Awards and spawning 2 sequels and a remake, the film is still widely discussed by both horror fans and film scholars alike. In the wake of Poltergeist's success, Hooper enjoyed a period of financial security that allowed him to choose the kind of films he would make in the next several years. These included science fiction horror Life Force, a remake of Invaders from Mars, and the long-awaited sequel to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Whoa! So this is Radioland, huh? The infinite eternal, the waves through the ether fuzz roll on forever. Roar! Can't close that. Hi, I know what you're thinking. This is weird, huh? But I can handle it. You know?
The second entry in the franchise took the form of a black comedy and leaned much more heavily on gore than its predecessor. Although not as well received as the original, it would help pave the way for future installments. The series would eventually yield a total of 8 different films, including a 2003 remake from Michael Bay's production company, which introduced a whole new generation of horror fans to Leatherface. The next phase of Hooper's career would see him spend more time on the small screen, directing the pilot episode of Freddy's Nightmares with old buddy Robert Englund, while tackling the telemovies I'm Dangerous Tonight and The Apartment Complex, as well as the anthology film Body Bags, which he would direct alongside John Carpenter.
Ah, what the hell. One more for the road. Just a dash. Adds a little spine. Long life. Oh, better. The doctor will see you now.
This period was also notable for Hooper's ongoing relationship with Englund, with the now veteran actor playing a dual role in Night Terrors, which the pair would then follow up with Stephen King adaptation The Mangler. The 2000s would see the two team up one last time for a memorable episode of the anthology series Masters of Horror. While sadly on the film front, Hooper's last 4 projects would gain little traction with mainstream audiences, with Crocodile, Toolbox Murders, Mortuary, and Djinn proving to be for die-hard fans only. Then in 2017, the sudden and tragic news arrived that Hooper had passed away of natural causes, aged 74. The outpouring of love that was seen not only in the horror community but across the entire film world highlighted both the director's generosity and long-lasting influence. It confirmed what many had known all along, that throughout his 50-year career, this titan of the industry had amassed a level of respect from his peers and a love of his craft that is rare in Hollywood.
We were trying new things in those days, and
socially as well as creatively. I mean, It seems like there's a huge portion of contemporary horror that was birthed during the Vietnam-era protests, including Chainsaw. Would you say that?
Oh, definitely.
Was something you were trying to say?
Even if it wasn't deliberate, it would have to come through its times because the times were political.
And with new remakes of Salem's Lot, Poltergeist, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre on the horizon, the legacy of this horror Hall of Famer will only grow stronger with time.
When I make a film, and we work together, I continuously sand it and polish it and polish it and polish it, because the closer to music I can make it, the happier I am.
Hey, thanks for watching our show. Please subscribe to our JoBlo Horror Videos channel. Tell your friends who like this sort of content. And turn on the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest videos. Listen, we're an independent company, and we appreciate all of your support.